Hi everyone, welcome to Midnight Storytime. Before watching the video, please give me a like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Everyone knows that liking someone and pursuing them is normal. But being liked and pursued by someone like her, that is a catastrophe. I once told her that a forced melon isn't sweet, meaning a forced relationship won't be happy. She simply looked at me and replied, "It doesn't have to be sweet, as long as it quenches my thirst." Isn't she supposed to be the tragic female lead of a heartbreaking romance? Why is she acting like a crazed stalker? This plot is completely wrong. About 6 months ago, after staying up for 2 nights straight to finally track down a rare African star, I passed out. When I woke up, a flood of memories that didn't belong to me surged into my mind like a terrifying tidal wave. My name is Felix, and I've lived in this world for 23 years. However, I was suddenly informed that my entire life is nothing more than a subplot in a strong female lead angst novel. I am the white moonlight, the idealized, unattainable love that the female lead, Serafina, loves passionately, but can never have. In the end, I am the one she personally destroys. According to the plot, 3 years ago, I used the excuse of studying abroad to reject her confession. But she didn't give up. To deal with her family's arranged business marriage, she found a contract husband to act as a shield. That man was Daniel, my substitute. For the past 3 years, she has sent me messages every single day, sharing her daily life and checking in on me with tender concern. I maintained the boundaries of a normal friend, politely replying that I would return home in 6 months. That return marks the true climax of the story. In the original plot, once I return, Serafina is supposed to stay entangled with me, while claiming to everyone that I am her man. Her immature love for me is meant to slowly turn toxic, eroded by time and her growing guilt toward Daniel. She would cling to me while refusing to let go of Daniel. The original Felix was supposed to be infuriated by her attitude. He finds Daniel and mocks him mercilessly. Daniel, who is already terminally ill and emotionally shattered, leaves the city in silence and dies alone in a foreign land. Serafina couldn't find him until she received the news of his death and found his grave. That was when she went insane. She believed that I was the one who accelerated Daniel's death, that I was the one who killed him. Ultimately, the love in this woman's eyes turned into cold, bone-deep hatred. She used the power of the Serafina family to tear my family apart and leave us in ruins. The person who told me all of this was a shadowy figure who appeared in my dreams while I was unconscious. The figure in the dream was ethereal and hazy. He claimed to be a connection to my past life, the will of the Blue Heart. He told me, "You are of the Blue Heart lineage. You must demonstrate greatness in this realm. You cannot die yet. I am awakening your memories and granting you a small boon." As his words fell, the memories of my past life fully returned. Simultaneously, I felt a miraculous transformation within me. "I have maxed out your charm attribute," the voice echoed. "Go now. Use your strength to survive in this world." The dream ended. For the past 6 months, I've been juggling an accelerated study schedule to finish my degree early while calculating how to dismantle this script. The Serafina family is a titan, my own family. The Felixes cannot afford to provoke them. If I were to return and immediately block her or harshly reject her, her obsessive nature would turn that love into hatred instantly, triggering the destruction plot early. I cannot be the one to tear off the mask first. My plan is to play along with her for now. I will wait for her to act out the script, wavering between me and Daniel, and then I will strike. I'll step out and scold her for being a two-timer, a toxic woman through and through. I will show utter disappointment and disgust, drawing a hard line between us. By doing this, I hold a moral high ground. I am the one choosing to leave because of her betrayal. If she has any shred of dignity left, she won't dare harass me further. And when Daniel eventually passes away, she will have no reason to vent her fury on me. Having thought it all through, the gloom that had hung over me for 6 months finally lifted. I grabbed my suitcase and boarded the flight home. The plane touched down in River City. Sunlight streamed through the windows, slightly dazzling. I took a deep breath and checked my phone. A message from Serafina had arrived just minutes ago. "Little Felix, has the plane landed yet? I'm here to pick you up." As I stepped off the plane, The familiar humid air of River City washed over me. My phone vibrated, a call from my older sister. I swiped to answer. "Little Felix, are you off the plane yet?" Felicity's decisive voice rang through the receiver. "Just got off. I was going to pick you up, but an emergency meeting cropped up at the company, so I can't make it." "It's fine, sis. I'll just grab a taxi." "All right. I've transferred some money to your card. Don't even think about work yet. Now that you're back, just have fun. Things are much more interesting here than abroad these days. Once you've had your fill of fun, I'll arrange a position for you at the firm." I smiled. "I got it, sis." I hung up, and a notification followed immediately. "Your account has been credited with 20 million. That's my sister for you. Her way of showing affection is as practical and direct as a wire transfer. It made me feel incredibly at ease. I put my phone away and headed toward the parking lot. I hadn't taken more than a few steps before I froze. Not far off, a stunning silhouette stood out from the crowd. Her tailored business suit perfectly accentuated her curves. A cold, regal aura radiated from her, keeping others at a distance. Yet in her arms, she held a large bouquet of tulips, my favorite flower. It was Serafina. The moment she spotted me, her icy expression instantly melted. Her eyes sparkled like stars as she waved at me. As expected, the plot was unfolding exactly as scripted. I pulled my suitcase toward her, but before I could utter a greeting, a wave of fragrance crashed in my arms. Serafina dropped the bouquet and threw her arms around me, hugging me with such force it felt like she wanted to crush me into her very bones. My entire body stiffened. Passers-by turned to stare, and some even pulled out their phones, the camera flashes already clicking away. I was certain that tomorrow's headlines in River City would read, "CEO of Serafina Group embraces mysterious man at airport." "Ahem. Let's in the car first," I muttered, slightly embarrassed, as I gently patted her back. Only then did she release me, pulling me quickly toward a sleek red sports car. Once the car door shut, blocking out the outside world, Serafina's eyes immediately turned red. "You're finally back. I missed you so much, Felix." Her voice choked up as she began to recount the longing and torment of the past 3 years. She told me she had to look at my picture every single night just to fall asleep. The icy CEO from the original novel now looked like a heartbroken little girl. If she doesn't win an Oscar for this performance, it'll be a waste, I thought to myself. Aloud, I could only offer perfunctory comfort. All right, I'm back now." Suddenly, she leaned in close, staring intensely into my eyes. "Let's have dinner together tonight. I've already made a reservation." My heart skipped a beat. The first step of my plan had arrived. "I can't tonight. My sister told me I have to eat at home. A family reunion." I had found the perfect excuse. Serafina's eyes dimmed for a split second, but they immediately brightened again. "Then tomorrow? Is tomorrow okay?" "Sure." I nodded, maintaining the boundaries of a casual friend. The car soon reached the gates of my villa. I got out to grab my luggage. "I'll head in then." Serafina stepped out of the car as well and stood before me. I thought she was going to say something, but she suddenly took a swift step forward and pressed her lips against mine. A brief, soft, and warm kiss. I turned to stone. By the time I could react, she was blushing and had scrambled back into the car like a frightened rabbit. The red sports car roared to life and sped away. I stood there alone, subconsciously touching my lips. Her warmth and scent seemed to linger there. Something is wrong with this script. In the original novel, even though she loved me, she was far more reserved and controlled. Why is she suddenly acting like a woman head over heels in love? I was too exhausted to overthink it. I pulled my suitcase and pushed open the familiar front door of my home. The rich, savory aroma of home-cooked food instantly flooded my senses. In the kitchen, my mother was wearing an apron. Hearing the noise, she poked her head out immediately. When she saw it was me, her face beamed with joy. She wiped her hands on her apron and rushed over. "You're back. Are you tired? Quick, go sit on the sofa. What do you want to eat? Mom will make it for you." My heart felt a wave of warmth. "Mom, don't go to too much trouble. Just some sweet and sour ribs and Coca-Cola chicken wings." I wasn't shy about it, rattling off a list of my favorites. My mother listened happily. "I've already made those. Anything else?" I shook my head, saying it was enough, but she insisted. "How can it be enough? You've gotten so thin. I'm going to stew some fish soup to nourish your brain." Without waiting for an answer, she dashed back into the kitchen. This is home. This is the place I must protect at all costs. The table was soon covered in steaming, fragrant dishes. My sister, Felicity, hadn't arrived yet, so Mom ladled a bowl of soup for me. Eat first, don't wait for her. All she cares about is that company. Just as she spoke, the click-clack of high heels echoed from the front door. Felicity pushed the door open and walked in. She shed her trench coat, revealing a sharp business suit. Her eyes swept the room and landed on me for a few seconds. Then, she walked straight behind me. Before I could react, an arm hooked around from behind, locking my head in a playful chokehold. My face was instantly buried in an incredibly soft, fragrant embrace. I could nearly suffocate. "You little brat, you finally decided to come home," she said, her voice carrying a hint of a threat as she ruffled my hair. "If you dare to stay abroad any longer, I would have cut your cards and made you a janitor of my company for the rest of your life." The family dinner began in such a harmonious atmosphere. At the table, my mother and sister kept piling food onto my plate, asking if life abroad was good or if anyone had bullied me. I could only manage to tell a few half-true, half-fictional interesting stories to get by. I certainly couldn't tell them that I was being pursued by a deranged female CEO and that this family could be ruined by her at any moment. After dinner, I prepared to head to my room to rest. "Little Felix," Felicity's voice rang out from behind me. I stopped. She was leaning against the living room doorframe, arms crossed, wearing a silk nightgown. She looked less sharp than usual, with an added touch of relaxed elegance. "You're all grown up now. After so many years abroad, have you found anyone who caught your eye?" And here it was, the classic marriage pressure. My heart tightened, but my face remained expressionless. "Sis, I haven't even thought about that yet." Her eyes flickered with a hint of suspicion. "Really? Not at all? I heard that daughter of the Serafina family has been pining for you all this time." My chest constricted. As expected, I couldn't escape the mention of Serafina. "No, definitely not. If I find someone, I'll definitely report to you first." My sister seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, but the suspicion in her eyes only intensified. "Is that so? Then why did I see on the villa surveillance cameras that you and Serafina were kissing this afternoon?" My scalp went numb instantly. Surveillance cameras. How could I have forgotten about that? She was the one who kissed me. I didn't have time to dodge. I denied it 3 times in rapid succession. There is nothing between us, and I have absolutely no intention of saying yes to her. Felicity's face suddenly closed in, looming inches from mine, her breath fanning over my skin. She stared deep into my eyes, asking each word with weight. "Is that true?" I was panicked by her scrutiny, but I remained firm, my expression serious and sincere. "True. Absolutely true. I swear." She watched me for a long time before finally straightening up, a cryptic smile spreading across her lips. "I'll believe you for now." I beat a hasty retreat to my room, pursued by my sister's meaningful smile. In the blink of an eye, the next day arrived. I had to meet Serafina as promised. She appeared at the villa gates exactly on time in her familiar red sports car. We went to the movies first, and to my surprise, the massive theater was empty except for the 2 of us. "I booked the whole theater," Serafina said, handing me a bucket of popcorn with a smug little smile. "This way, no one will disturb us." The movie was some cliché romance. The plot was so stale it made me drowsy. In the dim light, I could feel Serafina constantly watching me instead of the screen. Suddenly, a soft, slightly cold hand reached out and carefully rested on the back of my hand. Then, her fingers interlaced with mine. My body stiffened for a moment, but I didn't pull away. In the shadows, I could see the corners of her mouth curl upward. As soon as the movie ended, I was dragged to the most high-end mall in River City. "You just got back. You definitely need new clothes," she said, naturally pulling me into a luxury boutique. But then, things started to get weird. She wasn't just picking out clothes for me. She was picking them for herself, too. "This shirt is nice. Let's get one for each of us. These pajamas are a couple's set. The fabric is very comfortable. And these mugs, look, they're perfect for engraving our initials." From clothes to pajamas, from slippers to water mugs, she seemed determined to turn everything into couple items. She wanted to stamp me with a Serafina brand from head to toe. I looked at the suggestive glances from the store clerks and felt my scalp prickle. This way of declaring sovereignty was both overbearing and direct. It made me feel like prey being marked. After a frenzy of shopping, dinner time finally arrived. Serafina took me to the Western restaurant she had reserved. The piano music was melodious, the candlelight flickered, and the atmosphere was perfectly curated. Even the air seemed to carry a hint of something illicit. Just as we were waiting for the food, my phone, sitting on the table, suddenly vibrated. The screen lit up, displaying 2 words, Elena. Serafina's gaze swept across the screen. She didn't say anything. She simply picked up her glass and took a sip of water. My instinct was to hang up immediately. Go ahead, answer it. It's fine, she said, setting her water glass down. Her tone was flat and calm. I had no choice but to swipe and answer. A girl's clear, enthusiastic voice instantly chirped from the other end. Felix, you're back in the country, aren't you? Do you have time to hang out? Let me treat you to dinner to celebrate your return. I glanced at Serafina, sitting across from me. She was elegantly slicing a piece of appetizer bread, seemingly completely indifferent to the content of our call. Sure, but I don't have much time lately. I'm quite busy. Let me find a time later, I replied. Then it's a date. Elena's voice was intimate and playful. Remember to reach out to me, okay? Oh, by the way, is there anything special you want to eat? Nothing special. Anything is fine as long as it's food. I'm sick of foreign cuisine. Okay, bye. I hung up and placed my phone face down on the table. Serafina was still slowly eating her bread, a faint smile on her face as if she hadn't heard a word. But from an angle I wasn't supposed to see, her hand beneath the table had clenched into a fist, her knuckles turning white from the force. When the steaks arrived, the fresh juice spilled onto the plate as I cut into it, but it felt like I was chewing wax. Elena's phone call was like a stone thrown into a still lake. Even though Serafina continued to smile, the atmosphere in the restaurant had clearly dropped several degrees. I couldn't wait any longer. It was time to push the story in the direction I wanted. I set down my knife and fork, picked up a napkin, and calmly wiped the corners of my mouth. Serafina. She looked up. The candlelight danced in her pupils, reflecting only my image. When do you plan to divorce Daniel, your contract husband? I asked gently, as if asking about tomorrow's weather. Serafina's hand froze for half a second. Then she smiled, a brilliant but dangerous smile. Anytime, she replied. Her answer was so fast it caught me off guard. She set her cutlery down and leaned forward, her beautiful eyes locking onto mine. If I get the divorce, would you be willing to marry me? Boom. I felt like I had been struck by lightning. Where's the script? Where is the hesitation? Where's the inner conflict between me and the substitute? What is happening? Why is she playing her ace right from the start? She's going straight for the marriage trap. My mouth hung open, my throat feeling as if it were stuffed with cotton. I couldn't utter a single word. What? The curve of her lips widened, carrying a hint of mockery. You don't want to? It's over. This time, it's really over. My plan hadn't even begun before it was blocked by a single sentence from her. I grabbed the wine glass on the table and down a large gulp, trying to use the alcohol to numb my exploding brain. I do. I muttered those 2 words, my voice so soft I could barely hear myself. After all, you've always been so good to me over the years. I know your heart. I forced myself to continue, reciting the lines I had rehearsed countless times in my head. The reason I rejected you before was because I was immature. Now, I think we can truly be together. After forcing those words out, I felt like I had turned into stone. I stared at her, praying frantically in my heart. Quick, say you need time to think. Say you still feel a sense of responsibility toward Daniel. However, reality slapped me across the face once more. Okay. Serafina's response was shockingly decisive. Her voice even carried a hint of irrepressible joy. Then let's be together. She smiled like a cat that had finally caught the mouse, smug and satisfied. Tomorrow, I'll go and finalize the divorce papers with him. Felix, you aren't allowed to run away. If you dare to shirk your responsibility, I'll lock you up. She said that last part while laughing. Her tone is gentle, as if she were acting spoiled. But hearing it made a cold shiver run down my spine. I was completely dazed, utterly lost. What kind of crazy story is this? Wait. I was so frantic I nearly jumped out of my seat. My voice went up an octave. There's no need to rush. After all, we haven't seen each other in a long time. It would be better to get to know each other again for a while. I looked at her, forcing a smile that looked more painful than crying. The smile on Serafina's face faded slightly. She just sat there, scrutinizing me with a gaze so intense it made my heart race with fear. Cold sweat was practically pouring down my back. Just when I thought she was about to explode in a fit of rage, she suddenly laughed. "All right," she said. She actually agreed. "I'll listen to you." I immediately breathed a sigh of relief, feeling like I had just taken a stroll to the gates of hell and been kicked back at the last second. This isn't right. My head was spinning as I desperately searched for the reason the plot had veered so far off course. Could it be that she doesn't know yet? Yes, that must be it. As long as she finds out about that matter, her damn Saint Mother complex will kick in, and the story will snap back to the correct trajectory. I felt like a drowning man grabbing at a straw. Serafina, I clear my throat, try to open the subject naturally. I heard some news recently about Daniel. It seems like he's very ill. I carefully watched her expression as I dropped the bomb I had prepared. I heard he might not have much longer to live. You should probably go back and check on him. After all, you're still husband and wife on paper. Giving him some extra money would be the right thing to do. After saying it, my heart thundered in my chest. Come on, feel guilty, waver, act according to the script for me. I thought that by revealing the shocking news of Daniel's terminal illness, Serafina, even if she didn't feel guilty, would at least be quiet for a few days. However, reality slapped me once again. I had vastly underestimated the operational capacity of a madwoman. Not only did she not settle down, but she actually accelerated her attack. In the days that followed, I became her exclusive accessory. Whenever she had a spare moment, she would appear at my door in that familiar red sports car. "Little Felix, let's go for a walk." Then, she would drag me away by force to begin what she called a nostalgia tour. She took me to the fried chicken shop we loved in middle school. The place had been renovated and the owner had changed, but the taste remained much the same. She took me to the bookstore we used to frequent in high school, pointing at an old sofa in the corner. "You used to sit right here and read until you fell asleep." My heart tightened. She actually remembers that. She even took me to the private kitchen restaurant we visited during our university years. The owner recognized us immediately, greeting us with a hearty laugh. The young couple is finally back together. Serafina's eyes crinkled into crescents as she smiled, offering no correction. I could only stand beside her, forced to maintain a polite, awkward grin. We even returned to our university campus, strolling under the shade of the lush trees. She was like a happy songbird, chirping away as she recounted stories of us from our student days. "Do you remember when you sprained your ankle playing basketball? I was the one who carried you back to the dorm. And that time you skipped class and got caught by the professor? I was the one who helped you write that 8,000-word self-reflection." She laughed as she spoke, the sunlight hitting her face, making her look indescribably beautiful. But I felt like a frog being boiled in lukewarm water, utterly uncomfortable. One day, she called me to invite me out again. "There's a company gala tonight. Come with me." I was about to refuse, but her next sentence blocked my retreat. "The car is already at your gate." At the gala, the lights were dazzling and the wine flowed freely. Serafina led me to a group of elegant middle-aged men in suits. "These are some of our company's shareholders." Then, she pulled a small box from her handbag and handed it to me. "A gift for you." I opened it to find a sports car key. Looking at the prancing horse logo on the key, I felt like I was holding a live grenade. Before I could react, Serafina raised her champagne glass and tapped it lightly. The crisp sound silenced the ballroom, and every eye in the room turned toward us. She linked her arm through mine, a flawless smile on her face, her clear voice ringing through the hall. "I would like to officially introduce everyone to Felix, my partner." The hall fell silent for a second. Then, the group of shareholders and executives, as if receiving a signal, swarmed toward us. "Oh, President Serafina and young Master Felix truly are a match made in heaven," a balding man exclaimed, his face wrinkling as he laughed, desperately trying to toast me. A talented man and a beautiful woman, families of equal status. I could tell from the start that young Master Felix was no ordinary person, another flashy executive added, his eyes darting between me and the car key. Our CEO's vision is truly sharp. We are deeply impressed. These old executives surrounded me, and I was forced to maintain a stiff, wooden smile, feeling like a monkey on display. This wasn't a social gathering. It was a public execution. But the most terrifying part was yet to come. She actually took me to meet her parents. The two elders sat on the sofa, their scrutinizing gazes scanning me from head to toe. Then, they broke into incredibly satisfied smiles. Her father patted my shoulder. "A fine young man. We are entrusting our Serafina to you." Her mother took my hand, unable to stop grinning. We're all one family now. Throughout the entire process, I was like a marionette, letting them pull my strings. Stepping out of her house and sitting in the car, my mind went blank. I felt trapped in an invisible, tightening net, unable to move. Serafina hadn't hesitated for a single second despite Daniel's terminal illness. She was determined to weld me to her side permanently. It's over. The frog in the lukewarm water. The water has finally reached a boil. I have to find a way to leap out of the pot before I'm cooked through. I can't endure this life for another day. After finishing dinner at the private kitchen restaurant we used to frequent during university, night had completely blanketed the city. Serafina was in high spirits, still dwelling on the shop owner's joke about us being a young couple. But my heart only grew heavier. The longer the night, the more dreams may haunt it. This had to end soon. If I let this drag on any longer, I was truly afraid her net would tighten until I suffocated. I couldn't use the confession trap to test the waters anymore. If she agreed instantly without hesitation like last time, there would be no turning back. This time, I planned to lay it all out. I stopped in my tracks and looked at her. "Serafina." "Yeah." She turned around, her eyes sparkling under the streetlights, filled with expectant joy. I took a deep breath and spoke the words I had prepared. "I know everything you've done for me in the past, and everything you've done since I returned. I understand your feelings perfectly." I paused for a moment, watching her smile bloom petal by petal, before I reached out and crushed it. "I'm very sorry for making you wait so long, but in my heart, there is someone else. Furthermore, you have been married. So between us, let's just leave it at that." The air seemed to flash freeze in that instant. The smile on Serafina's face vanished bit by bit, replaced by a cold, dark void. "You're rejecting me again? You want to shirk your responsibility again?" Her voice was icy and sharp, piercing my ears like a needle of frost. "Is it because of Daniel? He and I are in a fake marriage. We haven't even registered it legally. I told you, there is nothing between us, and we don't even live together." Her emotions began to spiral out of control, her voice trembling with a mix of grievance and fury. I forced myself to look away from her wounded gaze, hardening my heart. "Even so, even if what you say is true, I still find it very difficult to accept in my heart." Those words were like a bucket of ice water, completely extinguishing the final spark of hope in her eyes. Serafina's face darkened. It was the eerie stillness before a storm. She stared me down for a full 30 seconds. Then she spoke, her voice terrifyingly calm. "Follow me." "I'm not going." I instinctively took a step back. "Where do you want to take me?" She laughed, a hollow sound devoid of warmth, revealing something dark and pathological. "You know, for you I would do anything." She stepped toward me, the click-clack of her heels echoing like a countdown against my racing heart. "Felix, don't force me to drain my company's vitality just to bankrupt your family's firm. You wouldn't want to see your family wandering the streets, crushed under a mountain of debt, would you? Because if that happens, the only thing left for you to do would be to come crawl to me for shelter." She leaned in close to my ear, her voice as light as a whisper, yet her words were as lethal as snake venom. My entire body went numb. A wave of ice surged from my heels straight to the crown of my head. She's insane. She is a possessive maniac through and through. The hesitant heroine from the original novel who wavered between me and the substitute was nothing but a facade. This is her true face, a fixated, pathological predator. Looking at her crazed, deadly serious expression, I was paralyzed with fear. I didn't doubt her for a second. If I actually dared to turn my back and walk away today, she could make my parents' company vanish from River City by tomorrow. I couldn't gamble with my family's lives. "Just follow me." Seeing my face turn pale, her voice softened. even regaining a hint of tenderness. I won't hurt you. I looked at her outstretched hand. After a long moment of frozen silence, I finally yielded. I got into the car with her, my heart feeling like a block of ice. Before long, the car pulled up next to her familiar villa. But she didn't take me into her home. Instead, she led me toward the villa right next door. She raised her hand, not to ring the bell, but to pound her fist against the door. Thud, thud, thud. The heavy knocking rang out discordantly in the quiet night, echoing like a death knell. The door opened. The man standing there was Daniel. His complexion was sallow, his lips bloodless. He looked like someone who had been battling a long-term illness. Serafina didn't even spare him a glance. Her eyes remained glued to me. She pointed at Daniel and spoke to me, enunciating every word. I told you, we don't live together. I have never liked him. I have only ever been waiting for you. Before I could even process her words, she suddenly reached out. Her hands clamped around the back of my neck like iron pincers. I was completely unable to break free. In the next second, her lips crushed against mine. This wasn't a kiss. This was a declaration, a branding, an unquestionable act of possession. Right in front of her husband, on paper, my mind went blank, completely paralyzed. After what felt like forever, her lips finally pulled away. Serafina's chest was heaving slightly as she finally deigned to spare Daniel a single glance. Sorry, she said coolly. He and I had a little misunderstanding. I needed to prove to him that we've never lived together and that I've always been waiting for him. I stiffly turned my head to look at Daniel. I expected to see rage or deep sorrow, at the very least cold indifference. But on his face, there was only a sense of awkwardness and confusion. He even bowed slightly toward the two of us. It was I who obstructed the two of you, he stammered. My apologies. I felt as if my entire worldview was being flattened by a steamroller over and over again. What kind of ending is this? It's completely absurd. I grabbed Daniel and dragged him into a small, empty room nearby. What exactly is going on? I asked, suppressing my fury. Daniel was startled by my aggression, his face full of innocence. Mr. Felix, you and President Serafina are the ones truly meant for each other. I'm just someone working for a paycheck. What do you mean? President Serafina and I signed a contract. The marriage certificate is fake. We've never lived together. She bought me this villa and gave me a large sum of money. I just needed to hold a title to help her shut up those old men on the board of directors. My head was spinning. And your illness? President Serafina is a very good person, Daniel replied, a look of genuine gratitude appearing on his face. The surgery fees for my foster mother at the orphanage were all paid for by her. She is my great benefactor. I was a complete fool, the devoted substitute who stayed by her side for 5 years, causing the Serafina in the original novel to feel immense guilt. It turns out he was just a paid tool. More than that, he was a model employee full of gratitude. Just as my worldview finished collapsing, Daniel's eyes suddenly lit up, looking at me with immense appreciation. Actually, Mr. Felix, I really have to thank you. Thank me. I pointed to my own nose, my face a mask of bewilderment. Yes. He rubbed his hands together excitedly. If you hadn't told President Serafina that I was terminally ill and didn't have much time left, she wouldn't have been so blunt about paying out my contract early. And she even gave me an extra massive bonus. Now, after I'm gone, I can leave even more money to the orphanage. My foster mother won't have to suffer anymore. He looked at me with a gaze so sincere, it was as if he were looking at a long-lost father. I felt the world spinning. The plot didn't just veer off course, it exploded. I felt like I should be wearing a red clown nose. I couldn't stay a second longer. I pushed him aside and bolted, practically running on all fours to get to my car. I needed peace. I don't even know how I drove home. I slammed the gas pedal to the floor, the neon lights outside blurring into streaks of light. My head was buzzing. Daniel's grateful face, Serafina's manic, possessive kiss, and the threats she whispered in my ear. Each image was like a sledgehammer, smashing my self-righteous survival plan to pieces. Substitute? Guilt? Hesitation? It was all a lie. Returning home, I collapsed onto the sofa, feeling as though every ounce of my strength had been drained. The villa was silent. My sister and mother must have already been asleep. This fleeting silence only served to heighten my panic. Bzzzt. The phone in my pocket vibrated. I jolted as if struck by an electric shock, and sat bolt upright. The screen displayed a message from Serafina. "Where did you go?" 4 short words, yet they felt like a cold hand tightening around my throat. I stared at that line of text for a long time, my fingers trembling as I typed out a few words. "I went home," and hit send. After that, I began what I thought was a cold shoulder treatment. For the next 2 days, I shut myself inside the house, refusing to step out the door. Messages and calls from Serafina arrived like a blizzard. "Little Felix, are you still mad at me? Daniel and I truly have nothing between us. I can swear it. Can you come see me just once? Let's talk. If you don't answer my messages, I'm coming to your house to find you." I stared at those messages, my heart thumping. I didn't dare not reply, fearing she really would storm my front door. I could only manage a or "I'm busy" to deflect her after long intervals. I thought that doing this would make her calm down, make her realize the difficulty and retreat. I thought I was creating distance, unaware that I was only tightening the invisible leash in her hand. By the 3rd day, I felt like I was going insane. The tension and fear of those 2 days and nights left my nerves frayed and my stomach growling with hunger. I decided to head out for a late-night snack. I comforted myself. It's this late already. Surely she isn't still out there lurking. I changed into simple clothes, threw on a hat and a face mask, and crept out the door. The night wind was cold, hitting my face and clearing my muddled brain slightly. I chose a deserted path, heading toward the 24-hour convenience store at the corner of the street. The streetlights stretched my shadow long and then short. The surroundings were silent, save for the sound of my footsteps and the rustle of leaves in the wind. Just as I was about to reach the glowing convenience store, I let my guard down. From behind, a figure emerged silently from the darkness of an alley and closed in on me. Before I could even turn my head, a hand shot out from behind, clamping firmly over my mouth. Another arm, like an iron pincer, locked around my waist and dragged me backward. My pupils constricted. I struggled violently, but a sharp, pungent scent, tinged with a sickly sweetness, wafted from the blue and white striped handkerchief pressed against my face. I tried to hold my breath, my limbs flailing wildly, but that scent forced its way brutally into my nostrils. The world spun violently. In the final moment before my consciousness succumbed to the darkness, only one thought remained. It's over. I've completely provoked her. Now, the hunt has truly begun. My consciousness felt as though it were struggling to claw its way out of the thick, viscous void. The lingering traces of that sickly sweet scent remained in my nostrils, but it was quickly replaced by another, more familiar fragrance, a faint, pure aroma. It was Serafina's scent. I snapped my eyes open. The first thing I saw was a magnificent crystal chandelier. I tried to move, but I felt my wrists and ankles bound tightly. I was tied down, my limbs secured by soft strips of fabric to the head and foot of the bed. My entire body was spread eagle across this vast, plush mattress. I scanned the room, and my heart sank. The layout, the familiar decor. I had been here before. This was Serafina's bedroom. Just as the reality of the situation set in, a soft click echoed. The bedroom door was pushed open. Serafina, dressed in a silk nightgown, walked toward me barefoot. Her long hair draped loosely over her shoulders. The sophisticated makeup she wore during the day was gone, replaced by a terrifying, predatory intensity. There was no anger in her beautiful eyes, only the thrill of a hunter seeing her prey finally caught in the trap, and a cold, absolute determination. She stepped to the bedside, looking down at me as if admiring a trophy that finally belonged to her. "Little Felix, you really aren't being a good boy at all." Her voice was very soft, carrying a hint of reproach that made the hair on my arm stand up. "How much of my youth have you already wasted? And yet, you still tried to run away." As she spoke, she leaned down, bracing her hands on either side of my head. The silk of her nightgown brushed against my skin, cold and smooth. A pleasant fragrance enveloped me, but all I felt was a suffocating pressure. "A forced melon isn't sweet," I stammered, my voice trembling. She laughed, the corners of her mouth curling into a morbid arc while her eyes remained as cold as ice. "It doesn't have to be sweet as long as it quenches my thirst. If I don't take action, the melon will run away." She finished speaking and began to lean in closer. At that exact moment, a vibrating ringtone tore through the dark, eerie atmosphere of the room. It was my phone sitting on a nightstand. The screen lit up, displaying 2 words, Elena. Serafina froze. She tilted her head, glancing at the screen, her beautiful brows knitting together slightly. She reached out and, without a hint of hesitation, swiped to reject the call. Silence returned to the room, but less than 2 seconds later, the phone rang again with stubborn persistence. It was still Elena. Serafina's patience appeared to reach its limit. She snatched the phone and swiped to answer. I hadn't even clearly heard what Elena said on the other end before Serafina spoke into the receiver with the impatient tone of a ruthless queen. I am busy with something important right now. You had better not ruin my mood. With that, she hung up immediately. She held down the power button until the screen went completely black. Everything was finally, utterly silent. She tossed the phone onto the carpet and turned back, her gaze locking onto mine. Her eyes burned with an unreadable, flickering fire. All right, now, no one will disturb us. I don't know how much time passed before I woke up from a state of total chaos. It was morning. The early sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting sharp streaks of light across the expensive carpet. I moved, and my wrists and ankles no longer felt the constriction of the cloth. Instead, a dull, aching soreness throbbed in my lower back, as if my body had been disassembled and put back together. In the air, her familiar fragrance still lingered. I struggled to sit up with my nearly broken body, the silk sheets sliding off me. Then, I saw it. More than 10 strawberry marks across my chest and a startlingly bright red stain, like a plum blossom suddenly blooming on a field of snow. She had treated me like a toy. My body went stiff, my mind a complete blank. "You're awake?" Serafina's voice drifted from beside me. She was sitting on the armchair next to the bed, still in that silk nightgown, legs crossed, holding a cup of black tea. She watched me with an elegant, composed posture. Her face carried a lazy, satisfied glow, like a predator that had just finished a feast. Her eyes were flooded with the power of someone who now held everything in her grasp. I looked at her, then at that plum blossom stain. My throat was bone dry. I couldn't utter a single word. She set down her teacup, walked barefoot to the bedside, and leaned over. Her cold fingertip gently stroked my cheek. "There. Now, you belong entirely to me." Her voice was soft, but it felt like shackles tightening around me. "Don't even dream of running away." My body felt icy, my lips trembled, but I could only produce meaningless sounds. She seemed very satisfied with my expression, her lips curving into a smile. "If you don't take responsibility, I'll go to your house and make a scene. I'll tell your aunt, your uncle, and your parents every single thing I did to you last night. Or I could simply make the Felix family business vanish from River City forever." She leaned in close to my ear, her warmth fanning against me, but her words were terrifyingly cold. By then, where else could you go besides coming to beg me for help? I closed my eyes, all the strength drained from my soul. She straightened up, her tone returning to that calm, unquestionable authority. "Your clothes are in the wardrobe. I've already had someone buy a new set for you. Since today is the weekend, the Civil Affairs Bureau is closed, so we can't complete the paperwork yet." She paused for a moment, as if declaring an unchangeable law. "Wait until Monday. We're going to register our marriage immediately. Don't try any tricks. Otherwise, you already know the consequences." I don't know how I managed to put on my clothes, how I walked out of that bedroom, or how I even left that villa. The sunlight hitting my body offered no warmth at all. Around me, the traffic flowed like a tangled web. The noise of the crowds was deafening, yet those sounds felt miles away, as if I were separated from the world by a thick sheet of glass. I made it home and collapsed onto my bed, pulling the covers over my head. My mind was a chaotic mess of tangled silk. How did the plot veer so far off course? What happened to the angst novel heroine? What happened to the hesitation between the first love and the substitute? How did she turn into a maniacal possessor with such absolute power? I am a transmigrator who knew the script. I was supposed to be the grandmaster controlling the entire board. But now, I have become a mere pawn, locked down by her on the chessboard. It's over. My identity as the White Moonlight has been completely imprisoned by her. The story ends. Thanks for listening.